Record button. Okay, so we're here at Interop and talking to you about InterNAP's announcements that they're going to make, and I'm going to let you guys get started. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves.
Absolutely. My name is Paul Carmody. I'm the Senior Vice President of Business Development and Product Management at Interop.
And I'm Bob Minnnear, the Vice President of Engineering at Interop.
And we're here at Interop to announce an exciting extension of our IT deployment platforms into the cloud. Maybe just a brief history of InterNAP. We were founded in 1996 around a proprietary IP optimization routing technology, which we still have and is proprietary today, which optimally routes traffic over the internet. Over time, we've added a co-location business, managed hosting, and also a content delivery network. So when we think about InterNAP, there are actually two dimensions along which we differentiate ourselves, and then I'll talk about our announcement. So first is best possible performance to the end user. So we have IP routing, we have a TCP acceleration technology, and a content delivery network. Those combined are unmatched by others in the industry. We also have the broadest possible footprint of IT deployment options. So we have co-location, so if people want to bring their own gear and stand up their own OSs, we can support that. We have managed hosting, where we'll bring the gear for them and manage the operating systems. And we're also announcing a cloud offering, which is a complement to those two flavors. We actually are going to have a public VMware-based cloud, where people can have public cloud instances that are co-resident with others on nodes, as well as dedicated nodes for people that want to have a more private infrastructure. We're also going to have an open source based cloud using Xen as a hypervisor. It's based on the OpenStack management system. And then finally, we have a private cloud offering that's in our managed hosting area where people can virtualize their managed hosting infrastructure. So when we look at what we offer, best performance to end user, broadest possible IT deployment platforms that go co-location, managed hosting, private cloud, dedicated nodes inside of a VMware public cloud, and open source public cloud using Xen as a hypervisor. No one else in the industry will have that breadth of IT deployment options.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised because there's so much competition among those different places, and it seems like most of the cloud providers are focusing on one cloud director platform. And so it's good for enterprises to have options. So one of the probably the big headline is this 100% SLA. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you plan to support that?
So for a long time, we've had 100% network SLA, uptime SLA. And the way that we do that is we actually bond a number of different carriers at what we call a private network access point, where we apply our proprietary IP optimization technology. So we can actually route across multiple different carriers based on what the optimal routing path is for the internet. The implication of that is, since we're scanning the internet for availability, congestion, jitter, etc., if one of the links goes down, becomes overly congested, has high packet loss, we actually dynamically redirect traffic to a superior link. So the net effect is you get better performance and better availability from that solution.
So then in your cloud offerings, for example, in your VMware, are you going to be using vCloud Director for the cloud controller for that? And so it infers then everything's going to be stateless, and you can have dynamic vMotion and what have you. So is that for your SLA, are you guaranteeing an operating system uptime, or is it still network availability?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or I guess rather than operating system, hypervisor availability?
Right, no, I understand what you're saying. I think our perspective is at InterNAP is the SLAs and fine-tuning the SLAs for the cloud in particular can be very important over time. And so I think that we're going to support our performance, availability, and support mantra in our cloud offerings. And the exact SLAs that we'll have in the third quarter when they become available, we'll announce at that time.
Okay. So is it in your service offerings and how you plan to package them, going back to the, say, VMware environment, or is everything going to be assumed that it's going to be dynamic and stateless, and that is it standard part of the service offering to be able to transition a virtual machine between data centers if there were a natural disaster or power outage, something to that effect in a particular data center?
That's a good question. So I think one thing to keep in mind about InterNAP is we actually have the data center footprint to support a lot of what you're talking about. We have 9 company-controlled data centers in the U.S., 2 announced, 28 partner facilities that we sell co-location into. So over time, we'll definitely have multiple availability locations for our cloud offering. I think that provides sort of the building blocks that you're talking about to support some more sophisticated disaster recovery strategies in those cloud environments.
Very good. And is there a difference in the OpenStack and versus VMware in as far as high availability disaster recovery scenarios for stateless compute? You see a higher SLA around one or the other?
Well, I think what I would say is clearly VMware has been in the market for a long time. They've built in certain features and functionalities around their hypervisors that allow you to do things around high availability, etc. That I think that other parts of the market are building into their platforms over time. So I think we see a huge amount of promise and flexibility in OpenStack. We're a huge believer in that open source community. I think it's going to be a great platform for our Zen hypervisor deployment. And I think what we'll find is people will wind up constructing the availability that they want in their application based on how they use the cloud infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have, we talked about hosting, we talked about infrastructure as a service, and what about platforms? Have you have anything with Joyent or anything similar to that, where we're an application development environment, platform as a service?
So, no, we're an infrastructure as a service provider, right? So we're, at the simplest level, I would say, what kind of cradle do you want for your OS? Do you want to bring a box that's going to have your OS? Do you want us to bring a box you put your OS on, or do you want to have it in a cloud environment where you're leveraging public infrastructure with other people to deliver that operating system? So I think what we found is when we take a look at the marketplace, there are really two buyers that kind of characterize the choice to come with someone like InterNAP. There are CIOs who generally are caretakers of a wide range of disparate applications, each of which may have a different natural home, right? So you may have compliance requirements around an ERP system where you want it in a co-location facility with a locked cage. You may have an e-commerce application that you want high availability on, you want that in a managed hosting environment. You may have departmental websites or project websites that you may want to put in the cloud. And so what we find is CIOs are very interested in having a range of IT deployment options. They're also equally concerned about performance to end users. Many of those end users may be internal end users, right? So if I'm a CIO, everything was on premise, I want to outsource it to somebody. I want to be assured that I can get that information, that application performance back to my internal users as quickly as possible. On the flip side, what we see is the CTO market, the Chief Technology Officer market. I would characterize as that people have engineering staffs, they're fine-tuning a large application, maybe an internet application. Those people are willing to design their application for particular IT deployment platforms, and they may be willing to use multiple different types of IT deployment platforms in the same application environment. So imagine a large software as a service vendor. They might actually have a very large database that's finely tuned that they want to have in a co-location environment. They might want to have application heads in the managed hosting environment, and they might want to burst web servers into the cloud. And so they're using those IT deployment platforms in a slightly different way than the CIO said. And they're also very, very concerned about performance to end users, because performance at the end user for a SaaS application is a huge differentiator. So we're actually seeing uptake from both the CIO and CTO market for the messages that we have, best performance to end user, widest possible IT deployment platform.
And so in that, what complementary services do you have? Do you have some, for example, content delivery? Networking accelerators?
We do. We actually we have a content delivery network. So we have multiple POPs around the world. We can use that to deliver static content as well as video. And so what we'll find, particularly in the CTO space, is many of those are, they may be media properties. They may have videos that go along with their particular application. They may have large downloads like gaming sites, where a combination of having flexibility in where you deploy an IT application is highly complemented with having a content delivery network to actually distribute that content to end users with even better performance. And I actually take it one step further, which is the same technologies that we use to accelerate internet routing out from our co-location managed hosting cloud facilities, we actually put on our edge POPs as well for the content delivery network. So not only are you getting the content placed closer to the end user, you're actually optimizing from a layer 3 perspective using IP routing optimization. You're accelerating using TCP acceleration. So you actually wind up with a multiplied benefit from a performance perspective based on the combination of our networking technologies, CDN, and then flexibility in IT deployment platforms.
I think it's a great offering. I think, as enterprises start to move towards private cloud environments, and in many cases they're initially trying to build their own, consolidate in a data center, bring in some type of cloud automation platform. And the increasing mobility of the workforce is starting to reduce the need to have a physical proximity to your application.